Happy Friday, everybody. It's a great day of baseball today. There's 14 games on the agenda, which is typical for a Friday, but there are a bunch of day games today, which is definitely not normal for a Friday. There's usually only a couple, but there's a bunch of them today. So get your plays in early if you haven't already, if you haven't seen the slate. If you want to see the schedule, go to RotoWire. You could see all the games that are going on early, like the White Sox and the Tigers, the Cardinals and the Red Sox, the Padres and the Cubs. So just be sure to get on your plays early today. This video is going to be a little bit longer than normal. I'll try to condense it, but it is Free Friday for me. What that means is I post pretty much all of my plays, all of my research, basically everything for free every single Friday. I show you guys the full premium experience if you were a premium member, but everybody gets it for free on Friday. So if you're not in the Discord, that's the best way to see all of the extra content. That link is in the description below. The Discord is totally free. Obviously, there's the paid premium section of it where you see more of my plays and more of my research every day. And if you want to sign up for that portion of it, that link is also in the description below. But you can find all the information in Discord too. But I'm not going to waste too much time here going through an intro because it is a massive slate today. And I do want to just touch on a few things before I get into the plays. So go to RotoWire. You can see what time all the games start today. If you scroll through, you see there's some with some weather concerns. If you're curious on how to look up weather for MLB and how it affects the games, I would advise going to rotogrinders.com. That's this website here. And then if you go to DFS and if you go down to MLB weather, this is the page that comes out. It's an MLB weather forecast by Kevin Roth. He's a really good follow on Twitter. And this is a free resource too. So basically, he goes through the slate every single day, identifies some situations that might have a delay or a postponement, and puts them as like a color coding. He also identifies some win situations too. So really good resource. There's some yellow oranges here, which means there might be some delays in Pittsburgh and in the Royals game. But all in all, it looks like every team's going to play. It looks like it's going to be really cold in Coors Field today. So probably a slight bump down to hitters, and the wind blowing in Wrigley Field, which is also a slight bump down to hitters too. But besides all that, I'm just going to get right into the plays today. I'm going to be using Outlier to share where I do some of my research. I also use Fangraphs, which is what this page looks like, to get some of the more advanced analytics too. But Outlier is really the core of my research every single day. You guys probably saw a few of the plays here. I had them up on the screen on the side. There's 9 of them for today, so we're going to be running through them really quick. But the first play here is Jack Flaherty over 6.5 strikeouts. He averaged 6.33 strikeouts per game last season, but in 2 meetings against the White Sox last year, he had 7 and 8 strikeouts, so averaging 7.5. Jack Flaherty has the highest K percentage on the slate of nearly 30%. He's striking out the most batters out of the pitchers in all 14 games today. He misses a lot of bats. The White Sox are around middle of the road when it comes to striking out against right-handed pitching. It's around 22% of the time, so I don't love that, but I do really like Jack Flaherty in this spot, and I do think we are getting some pretty good odds on his over 6.5 strikeouts, especially on Underdog. You get it at minus 105 on BetMGM too, so that's some really good play as well. Next play I'm going to run into, I'm going to go rapid fire on these because, like I said, there's a lot. Jake Irvin, over 4.5 hits allowed. So Irvin gives up a lot of home runs and a ton of hard contact. He allowed, 5+ hits in 11 out of 14 home games. So that's 10 out of 13 last year and then 1 out of 1 this year. So Arizona, he's going up against the Diamondbacks today. The Diamondbacks are one of the best teams in the league against right-handed pitching the last few seasons. If you want to learn how to look that up, it's pretty simple. Go to Fangraphs, go to leaders, go to their splits leaderboard. You filter by team. You go against right-handed pitching, and then you click update. And then if you want to do a range, base it off of like last year or this year. So if I just look at this year, even though it's a tiny sample, won't show me too much. We'll see Arizona is second on the list. If we go over the last 2 calendar years, or the last calendar year, and then you have to filter for career because you want to combine the years together. Anyways, you'll see Arizona second on the list as well when I sort by weighted on base average. So they are a really good team against right-handed pitching, and Jake Irvin is just a total gas can. I think they let him up today. The Diamondbacks played very well in Yankee Stadium over the rest of the week, so I think the Diamondbacks are some really good plays for some overs on their bats. Third play I'm touching on, Yoshi Yamamoto, under 16.5 outs. It's pretty much, this is just a matchup play. It's a very difficult matchup against the top team in the MLB against left-handed pitching. But if we do look at his last 11 games, he actually has gone under 16.5 outs in 10 out of his last 11 games. Obviously, he had the stretch early on in the season last year where he was constantly going 6 innings or deeper. But the whole second half of the season, he was not going that sixth inning, and it was just stopping after 5, getting his pitch count up and just not going too deep into games. And against this Philadelphia lineup, which is just insane against left-handed pitching, it's honestly one of the best lineups of baseball in general. I'm going to be taking his under on the pitching outs today. Next play I want to touch on here is I'm gonna do all the pitchers first, then I'll go back and talk about the hitters. But it'll be Max Meyer over 2.5 earned runs. Atlanta's been very bad. I mean, they're 0-6. They've lost a close one to the Dodgers. Their offense was terrible the first few games of the year. However, this is the Braves' first home game of the season, and they typically play very well at home. They really need to get a win tonight to get their season going, and I think they're just treating this as a new beginning. After spending the first week in California, getting an off day, they could treat this as just like a brand new opening day for them, and it's early enough in the season where it just doesn't kill them too. But basically, I'm going to be taking home run parlays with the entire Braves team today. I think the Braves are going to have a really solid day. If I look at Mayer's last 10 starts, or at least specifically his last 9, he's allowed 3+ runs in 7 out of his last 9 starts. So I think the Braves get to him early and often today, and that's why we're going to be going with the over 2.5 earned runs on Mayer. But if you want to go with some home run parlays, you can go with like Matt Olson, Acuna, Albie. You can go with all the main guys on that. Acuna's not back yet, but you can go with all the main guys on Atlanta. So we'll go look at their lineup. You go, probably Riley, Olson, Ozuna, Albies are the 4 I'd be going with home runs on if you wanted to. I'd parlay a couple of them together too, just because you might get some good value on that one, because I really think Mayer has a really rough game today. Next player we're going to jump on here is, scrolling down, Kevin Gausman, under 2.5 earned runs. Gausman, he's always had a slight reverse split where he's better against left-handed bats compared to right-handed bats. That has to do with his sinker and the movement on his pitches, his two-seam and all that too. The Mets have really only been league average against right-handed pitching so far, and if you look at last season for Gausman and the away starts, he actually went under 2.5 earned runs in 11 out of 15 away starts last year. So I'm just going to ride this trend. I don't think the Mets have it all going yet, and I do think he will be able to navigate Soto. Really, the only person who scares me in that Mets lineup is Pete Alonso, if we can find the Mets lineup anywhere here. They have Lindor, Soto, who are both going to hit lefties. I think Gausman will do a good job at limiting that one. Alonso, righty with a lot of power, but then a few other lefties too. So I like Gausman in the spot today. I think he pitches fairly well today and at least doesn't get blown up, which is pretty important too. Going with the under on the earned runs. Next play and the last pitcher play I'm touching on is Zach Littell under 17.5 pitching outs. He's gone under 17.5 outs in 11 out of 14 road starts last year. That's away from Tropicana Field or George Steinbrenner Field now at this point. But basically, Texas has really struggled to start the season, but they definitely have the power to get to Littell. Littell has blown up a lot of times over the last few years, giving up a lot of hard contact, and occasionally some very big innings that knocks him out of games early. You can see he had the one game last year, gave up a bunch of runs, only went 2 innings long. Most games it's usually 5 innings. Sometimes he gets pulled in the 4th. So I do think Texas gets to him today, and they have looked kind of rough this year, but I do think they get it together at home today against the Rays. Now I'm going to go touch on some hitter props that I'm on. This isn't all the hitter props that I'm going to be on. I haven't really placed all of my bets, to be honest with you, just yet, but we're just going to touch on a few of them here. So Tommy Edman, he's the hottest hitter in baseball right now. He's crushing left-handed pitching. So I'm going with his over on his hits, runs, and RBIs. You'll probably go in the total basis too, but I like to go with the hits, runs, and RBIs. He gets on base and he scores a run, or if he gets 2 hits, or he hits an RBI single or something, that'll cash the slip for us. So go with that Tommy Edman slip or prop against a pretty bad pitcher for Philadelphia. Luzardo gives up a lot of hard contact, especially to right-handed bats. Next play is pretty much a trend play. Nolan Arenado over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. You can see 9 out of his last 10 games. Going back to this year, it's been every single game this year going over this number. And he's going up against Walker Buehler, who gives up a ton of hard contact as well. He's really not the same pitcher as he has been, in years past. He had all these injuries recently. I believe he had Tommy John too, and he hasn't been the same since going down with all those injuries. And I do think the Cardinals put up a number against Buehler today, and if they do, Nolan Arenado will be right in the center of that. Next player we're going with is, if we could find it, William Contreras, under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Nick Martinez is the pitcher for the Reds. He does a very good job of keeping the ball on the ground and avoiding hard contact. Does not give up many home runs. I do think William Contreras has hit a home run off of him in the past, so the BVP is not really in our favor in this one. But Contreras hasn't looked great this year. He's gone under in 6 out of the 7 games so far. Obviously, they're at home. The Reds are looking really bad, but I think Martinez gets them in a pretty good position today to actually win the game against Milwaukee if they can score any sort of runs. But we're going to be riding with this Contreras under 1.5 hits and RBIs. And the final play I'm touching on really quick. I don't know if I actually have it on here or not. It looks like I don't. But I'll pull it up anyways. And it's going to be Kyle Tucker over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. If I can pull it up here. And I'll select that I have it. So, Randy Vasquez, he's very, very bad against left-handed bats. So, if you look at my premium content that I come out with every day, it might be a little difficult to see because I'm zoomed out a bit. But let's go look for Vasquez here against the Cubs. Where are you? Here he is. So, Vasquez here, 413 WOBA allowed to left-handed bats last year. A 368 expected WOBA. He doesn't miss many bats. I think the left-handed bats for the Cubs are going to get to him. Obviously, the wind is blowing in, but Kyle Tucker, he has like a 400 WOBA against right-handed pitching. It's just a really good spot for him. He might have the power where he could get it out of the yard anyways. Obviously, he's homered in 4 out of his first 5 games this year, so he's really hot to start the year, but I'm just going with the over to hits, runs, and RBIs because I'm not sure if that wind will keep the ball in the park or not, or if he'll just hit like a double in the gap or something, or just hit a couple singles. There's so many ways he can get there on the hits, runs, and RBIs. So, like I said, this video is going to be a little bit longer. Sorry about that. There's a lot to touch on a Friday slate, especially when I'm sharing all of my free plays and research. If you want to sign up for the premium, you get access to this entire Google Sheet where I pretty much pull in all the pitcher data and analyze every single pitcher on the slate. You'll get access to these full write-ups on OddsShopper, which I write up every single day, giving my analysis for all the plays, giving some home run picks, sharing basically all of my research that goes into everything every single day for MLB, for NBA, for tennis, soccer. I do pretty much every single sport. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully we have a nice and profitable Friday. Best of luck, everybody.